Okay, everybody. This is John Haller. I hope I'm streaming live. So if somebody in the chat would just check and make sure that everything is coming through, because it operates on about a 10-second delay. So today I'm joined by, well, let me just explain what's going on. So at Fellowship Bible Chapel, we canceled services today because the roads are kind of bad, but it's like bitter cold. We're talking like 10 to 15 or 20 degrees below zero wind chill. And we're an older congregation and we don't want to get people out on the road. Yesterday we had a Christmas carol singing thing at the church. And on the way home, somebody about a mile from the church had slid off the main road you have to go to get to the church and hit a utility pole and totaled their car. So, and they couldn't have been driving that fast because it was pretty snow covered. So it was very icy and slippery and everything. So we just decided we better to do that. I want to remind you of a couple things. By the way, I'm joined this morning by Mark Sutherland, my friend from the UK. And let me see if I have a little bit different. I'm going to do this layout. I think that's a little bit better.
Yeah.
And let me just adjust my camera a little bit. So anyway, so Mark, welcome. And let me just tell you what's going on. So Mark and I did a program the other day where we talked about the Doha Forum and some other issues involving Israel and that type of thing. And that's going to be the focus of a lot of what we're talking about today. You can get that at the Sutherland Report. I also did a live with Pastor Kurt Reed on his channel on Thursday. I think I had done something with Olivier Melnick on Tuesday, and then Wednesday night I did a 2.5-hour prophecy update roundtable on technology, technocracy with Patrick Wood, Scott Townsend, Richard P. Garcia. Get that at the FBC YouTube and Rumble channels. This should be streaming live on Facebook, FBC YouTube, FBC Rumble, my Telegram, and X accounts. So I think we've got it covered. And so, Mark, welcome.
Thank you, thank you, my friend. Good to be here. We've got about 140 odd people watching, so it's gone live.
Oh, do we really? Oh, I guess we do. So I guess somebody that's more usually people. I was at a or a fundraiser once, and somebody said, "Oh, I'd love to come to Fellowship Bible Chapel, but I think I would be so intimidated in attending a church that large." And I'm like, "How big a church do you think it is?" And she goes, "Well, you must be thousands of people." And I said, "No, a lot of Sundays we do a Bible study. Well, I do my prophecy update. We don't live stream that because we want people to share. That's for the church body. So I do my thing. So some Sundays I might only have 5 or 10 people sitting there watching me live. So it's kind of a very weird thing. So it's a very small church. And by the way, I don't usually do this, so I'll get this out of the way early. It's near the end of the year. There are a lot of costs associated with what we do at FBC and pushing things out on various social media platforms and equipment and that type of thing. For the most part, we're all volunteers, including me. And so I would just, if you see fit to maybe contribute to what we do at FBC and it does something for you or speaks to you, if you would consider contributing, you can go to fbchapel.com and you can click on there's a give button there if you would do that. We would appreciate it. No obligation. We don't monetize our channel. Sometimes videos that I use have copyright associated with them, and the way YouTube handles that now is that you don't get a copyright strike for using videos, and you don't get content taken down, but you do get the video can be monetized. So I say we don't monetize, we really don't monetize. So we appreciate all of you coming in. And Mark, where do we begin?
I think you're asking the most important question. You're absolutely right. And also just to acknowledge that and say how busy you've been this last week. So thank you for listing all that. I think, John, personally,
people always ask me, what are you going to do in your retirement? And I'm like, I'm sort of at the point where I don't know.
Oops, sorry.
I don't. I always tell people when I talk to them, they say, well, I'm retiring. I said, well, call me up the day you ask the question. How did I ever have time to work? Because I'm pretty busy. By the way, tomorrow, Mark, we're going to interview. Tell us what we're going to do tomorrow.
Thank you, my friend. We're going to be interviewing Robert Spencer of jihadwatch.org. I'm sure to many people that are very kindly watching us now, his name, they will know who Robert is. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be recorded at 9 p.m. GMT, and you are 6 hours behind, and then I will aim
5
to
hours.
Get 5 hours. I apologize, 6 hours Texas time. So I will endeavor to get that out as fast as we can. But also to say, for everyone watching now, thank you, and thank you very much. It's much appreciated. John, I think we need to start. You need to start with the horrific incident, the horrific attack at Bondi Beach in Australia that happened in, of course, it's the early hours of Australia morning. So it was the first day of celebrating Hanukkah. So if you want to start, I'd suggest you start with that.
Yeah, let's. What I'll do is I'm going to share a screen here. If I can, there's that the share screen. Oops. Oh, there it is. I shrunk down my thing a little bit, and I'll just pull up a news article that's there with the horrific attack at Bondi Beach. At least 12 dead right now. It was a Hanukkah celebration. There are videos all over the internet. You can see some of them playing there at the window. Apparently, that at least one of the persons involved appear to be of Pakistani origin. It's clear that this was targeting Jews. It was a Hanukkah celebration at Bondi Beach. Now, I've not been to Australia, but I've read enough about Australia to know that Bondi Beach is like the beach to go to in Australia, in Sydney. There's a video of a guy who, you can see it here. He was, the guy was shooting in front of him. He tackled him. He was injured. I'll try to pull up another video of that in just a moment. So, I mean, Mark, what do we make of this? And let me just say this. There's a lot of stuff coming out of Israel from Israeli intelligence that they had been warning Australian intelligence that something like this was coming.
If I have my facts right, which we work hard to do, so there'd already been a warning concerning the Iranian Republican Guard's Iranian influence within Australia. We saw an attack on a restaurant and a synagogue, then expulsion of individuals from the Iranian embassy and connection out there. And as you quite rightly say, you draw on the fact that there is an ex-tweet confirming that Bibi Netanyahu Prime Minister Netanyahu had written to Prime Minister Albanese, the leader of Australian government, Prime Minister, warning about what could be coming down the line. So that is out there. And what we know, as you talk about 11, 12 dead, right? That is just awful. And I'd seen reports that another 29 injured. And John, I think we need to talk about the incredible bravery of that man in a white t-shirt, black or blue slacks, who then took the gun off one of those terrorists and then put it on the ground, waving to the fact that I presume this man had been disarmed. The other thing is facts are all coming out, and it'd take a little while for this to settle, but we've also seen footage of people exiting the beach, understandable. And as you have said, this is the first day of Hanukkah celebrations. I've been struck by an interview that I'd seen with a man who was there in Israel on the 7th of October. He had then come over to Australia to work with Jewish authorities and Jewish groups there who are suffering, well, an unbelievable amount of anti-Semitism in Australia. And John, I just want to note the interview that you did with dear Hillel Field, and Hillel was then banned from coming into Australia. Do you remember? Do you remember
Yeah,
that?
wow, I
Yes.
really had forgotten about that. Hillel Fold. So you know who he is. He, I assume he lives down around Gush Etzion. Maybe he lives in Jerusalem. I don't know. But his brother Ari Fold was a very big guy physically and on social media. Big Israel supporter, clearly a Orthodox Jewish Zionist, loved Israel, very big on social media, did a lot of programs with people on the left that he didn't agree with. He'd had a very well-done program, I don't know, on one of the Israeli channels called Right and Left or something like that, and where he would sit and argue with the guy on the left, and they were friends. But he went down to the store at Gush Etzion. I was just by the shopping center there a couple months ago when we were in Israel on my tour, and he was there shopping, and a 15-year-old Palestinian Arab kid stabbed him in the back, severed his aorta. Ari ran him down and shot him so that he could not stab anybody else, and then Ari collapsed and died. And I remember I was on my way to church on Sunday morning when Avi Abelo popped into my social media feed, and he was at the Western Wall crying, talking about his friend Ari Fold was dead. Ari was dead, and it was a incredible thing to watch this unfold. I watched the funeral. I remember Hillel being there, tearing his shirt. They had the funeral within 24 hours. And now, so Hillel has been very big. He's sort of dedicated his life to telling the story about Israel and what they're doing. And he was going to go to Israel, and he was banned, or go to Australia, and he was banned from coming to Australia. And I will note that anyway, go ahead. I interrupted you. So
no, not at all. I was just the madness of today, where I've already done 1 hour podcast and just arranging something else. But I do apologise. But John, the key thing is that I understand Hillel was going to Australia to speak, but also to speak in regard to raising money for the ambulance service in Israel.
Majin David, yeah.
So he was going there. He then got banned from coming in. And let's put another thing in context. The day after the 7th of October, there was footage of a man celebrating this in Sydney, by Sydney Harbour there, by the Opera House, and saying that he was something like rejuvenated by what he had saw. I'm not sure whether, I think the man was then arrested. I don't know what has happened there. So that was just horrendous. And also the other thing is that a number of months ago, there was a doctor and a nurse caught online who were then speaking to a Jewish Australian saying, well, if we find out if people are coming into the hospitals and they're Jewish, then beware, or words to that effect. You can find that on the internet. So it's just giving other context of awful events that have been going on. And of course, then they've had the River to the Sea protests. There was the huge protest over I think Sydney Bridge, and the person at the front there was, one of the people was Julian Assange. leading this huge rally. John.
Yeah, so there's here's a video, or here's a letter. This is from Bibi Netanyahu to the Prime Minister of Australia, August 17th. I'm concerned with the alarming rise of anti-Semitism in Australia and the lack of decisive action by your government to confront it. Anti-Semitism is a cancer, he says at the end. It spreads when leaders stay silent. And I'll try to pull up here, but Albanese this morning issued a letter, a statement from the Prime Minister, at least the initial letter. Let me let's see. Sorry, this is a little bit different than when I have a staff helping me. So apologize.
You're doing brilliantly. You're doing brilliantly.
So here is. I thank you for recognizing my brilliance. But it says here, and so listen, this is what the Prime Minister of Australia, this is the top guy in Australia. An attack has just happened on a Hanukkah celebration. Everybody on planet Earth knows almost immediately this is a Hanukkah celebration with over 1,000 Jewish people in attendance at Bondi Beach. And these guys are shooting people, 12 dead, 50 injured at least, it appears. The scenes in Bondi this is the Prime Minister. The scenes in Bondi are shocking and distressing. Police and emergency responders are on the ground working to save lives. My thoughts are with every person affected. I've just spoken with the AFP commissioner and with the NSW, New South Wales Premier. We are working with the New South Wales Police and will provide further updates as more information is confirmed. Now, it's clear he could not bring himself to say what was actually happening. Now, he has come out and said that it was an attack on a Jewish celebration. That was clear. Yep. But why is his default position to be so weak?
Well, John, I think his default position to be so weak has been covered extensively on Sky News in Australia, on programs like Outsiders and elsewhere, because Sky News in Australia is very different to Sky News in the UK in the fact that it would be politics that we can agree with, would say it's right of centre, and there's fantastic people on there. It's tracing back Albanese, Prime Minister Albanese's political activity, and he has been pro-Palestinian and has been on called on pro-Palestinian rallies a number of years ago, etc. So they are his beliefs, if you follow that, and of course his politics we would call left wing. They are left wing. Is my comment on that, John.
Well, and Australia is having a lot of trouble with concerns about free speech and that type of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing that I'm going to try to pull up this is from the Geller Report, who's very closely associated with Robert Spencer, who Mark and I will be interviewing and then posting that video. We'll be interviewing him late tomorrow afternoon here in the US, in the evening in the UK. So look for that on Tuesday on the Sutherland Report. But as Pamela Geller says, the statement from Australia's far-left Prime Minister, no mention of Jews, no mention of Hanukkah, and not a single word on terrorism or anti-Semitism. So, I mean, this is a problem. So I'm going to try to, Mark, while you talk, I'm going to try to find some of the video, because the video is somewhat shocking. So go ahead and
Well, this, John, thanks. This also ties in with the awful events that happened in Manchester just about 8 weeks ago, on the day of celebrating Yom Kippur. So a synagogue in Manchester, 2 members of that synagogue were killed, others were injured. There was also a car ramming by an individual of an ideology that it's Islam, and he I think his first name was Jihad, which is rather interesting. And also, according to the police, he then had a record, or was known to them, on domestic violence. So this attack had happened, and again, the warnings, people were not surprised, which is sad. Which is sad because of any incident like this, but because of all the marches that we've seen in London and other protests in Australia, and people going, you are stoking this, you are not stopping this. And as you and I have discussed on our conversation in regard to the Doha Forum, we know that Qatar has been putting, as you pronounce it, Qatar has been putting, investing so much money into universities, colleges, etc. And it seems suddenly that this mind virus was released within minutes after the attack on the 7th of October in Israel in 2023. So this is the mind virus that sadly is where we're at and where we're going. And you're showing the picture of that brave man that who took the gun off the terrorist there, John?
Yeah, he was. I'll try to find the video, but this is a still shot of him. He was in between the cars. He saw the guy shooting, and there are other people off to his right up on a bridge that are shooting. So he went and tackled the guy, took the gun away from him. Now, I believe he was injured in taking the gun away from him, and he had the gun, and then he set the gun down and he went after the guy with a stick, which I'm not sure I understand. Listen, people in emergency situations, we just saw this with Charlie Kirk, they do things that, we can sit here in the safety of our office or our car looking at these videos like, well, why didn't they do this? Why did they do this? Why didn't they? And when you're in that emergency situation, it doesn't necessarily, you're not necessarily going to do something that if you could sit and think about it for a while. So look, praise the Lord for this brave guy who tackled this terrorist, prevented, and he took the gun away from him and kept the gun away from him. And then he had to, I think he was injured and he couldn't go after him anymore. But I believe this is the guy that the police eventually, one of the guys the police took into custody. There were at least two guys on a bridge. And you can see they got backpacks and bags full of ammo and that type of thing. So they intended this to be a lot worse than it was. Now, I also
the other report, John, I can't confirm this, but there has been talk that the Australian police then found a car that's got some improvised bombs within it. So that's the other thing to throw into the mix here.
Right. And so there's this picture of this Jewish guy, and I don't know his name off the top of my head. I apologize for that. But he was at the thing. He himself was injured. And the thing to remember is he was looking for his family. He was interviewed. He had moved to Australia to work with the Jewish community, had been present on October 7th in Israel I believe, down at the site where everything went down.
Yeah.
So here's this guy who's been, wow. So anyway, so that's a very brave guy that did that.
Definitely. So again, John, I think you raise a really good point when people say, well, if I was in that situation, I was done this or done that. Again, Australian gun rules are very, very different to America. And I'm sure that man, that whole thing for some was like, well, if I shoot him, am I going to get into serious trouble? And other people say, well, just shoot him, you're protecting everyone else. It becomes you with your legal background, it becomes quite difficult in those situations. But I think you raised the most important point if I was in that situation, well, we don't know what any of us would do in that situation. We just hope that we would do the right thing. So, yeah. So this is the guy who was on the bridge, yeah?
Yeah, this is the guy on the bridge. This is a tweet from Tommy Robinson, who You're in the UK, you know of him. I don't know if you know him
Mm.
or not, but and here's what Tommy says. This is 100% accurate. Everything that happened in Bondi Beach is supported by Islamic scripture. Those two barbarians were following an instruction manual.
Mm.
So that's and it comes from a hadith. It's also Article 7 of the 1988 Hamas Charter.
Yep.
The hour will not be established until you fight with the Jews, and the stone will say, which is a Jew, will be hiding and say, "Oh, Muslim, there is a Jew hiding behind me, so kill him." So, and the interesting thing is as I kind of watch this unfold, Mark, I think one of the things that I noticed was the videos that I've seen. And again, I thought I had these all saved in my queue, and now I'm not seeing them. But there were videos of the police arriving, and I have to tell you that the police coming in did not look that they just didn't seem to be reacting very quickly to things.
That criticism I have noticed as well. I can't really comment deeply on that, but there has been comments on that. I'm sure that God willing, that is going to be, it's very easy to say this, that is going to be investigated after this awful and tragic situation that's unfolded in that situation. But you are making a very fair point that other people are saying that. And as someone has said in the chat, in our chat here, which I've looked at, which is, everyone is packing in Texas and the people wouldn't stand a chance. And I'm going, I respect that. It's a very different situation in Australia. And as someone has pointed out in Australia, that these kind of gun incidents, someone would say, don't happen as much. I don't know. Have to look at the figures. But over the last 2 years, the rise of anti-Semitism, attack on the synagogue, other on the Jewish community, what they're about to put up with on the streets has been beyond disgusting, and has not really been addressed, let alone getting into the other issues of within the certain years that we've had since 2020. This is an interesting one, John.
Hey, Mark, hey, 1 second. I got to step away for just a minute because church canceled. I got a couple things I got to deal with. I want you to continue talking. I'm going to shut off my video, but I will be right back.
Okay, brilliant.
You can go ahead, okay?
No worries. So in this tweet, Israel is increasingly, the reason why I'm sitting forward is because my computer is slightly ahead of me and I'm having to put my glasses on, but there we go. Israel is increasingly assessing that Iran may be behind the terror attack and massacre of Jews in Australia, with a potential Hezbollah connection also under investigation. So this open source intel is saying this again, as I have commented on, not being clever, but the information's out there with the attack on synagogue, and which I think was actually firebombed. The Australian government, the Australian authorities, then deemed quite rightly to expel certain individuals, Iranian diplomats, out of Australia because of that, because of what had been what they'd unearthed. But as John said just a few minutes ago, and showed that letter up from Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu, saying I had written to the Australian Prime Minister 3 months ago. Now, this shows us something else in the fact that, and this I'm going to refer to UK relationships with Israel, especially after this whole thing of, as they said, we're going to recognize a Palestinian state. The along with Albanese of Australia, then Israel has the intel relationships and passing information on. Within the UK, we have, according to MI5, MI6, anti-terrorist organizations. There are 40,000 people that they are following, supposedly. Now, how we do that, the cost of that, the amount of people involved in that is just, to me, will be astronomical. And I don't even know, I don't think we have any of the resources to cover that, to cover all of that personally. But that's just my personal humble opinion. So this whole thing of then relationships with Israel and how often that they will then pass on the intel to speak about what they think groups are planning, and what they're doing. Now there is a huge, within the UK, within London, we have a huge issue here, because Melanie Phillips wrote a book 2006 called Londonistan, and she like others were warning of the relationships that if people have been expelled from certain countries, and also the relationships that they were then building within London, which is not very helpful. And I want to draw Morsi's family. More after Mubarak was kicked out, Morsi's family came to were in London. I'm not sure if Morsi was in London, but we have that. We've got the Muslim Brotherhood connections. That's what people are getting very concerned about this. But I want to draw just one more attention before we go back to John. Is this? There was a tweet that went out a couple of days ago. I know I shared it with John. I think we shared it with other people, where George Clooney was doing a interview with Drew Barrymore. And then in that conversation, Drew was asking him about his relationship with his wife, how he met his wife before and dating. And then he talked about, I think there was one date where she couldn't turn up, or she was late, because she was then involved with helping the Muslim Brotherhood constitution in Egypt. Now, going back to my earlier point, Mubarak of Egypt had been kicked out. This whole thing of the Arab Spring, 2011, onwards, starting in Tunisia, and then Morsi coming in, the Muslim Brotherhood coming in, and then she was involved with bringing about that constitution. Again, if people don't believe us, go and track that down. It's really important that we understand what people are up to behind the scenes, which is why dear John has done this presentation for, I think, about 12 years, and why it's so important that using someone else's show that we connect all the dots. John, is this is the footage after that?
Yeah,
man?
I'll let me pump this up to full screen. I think that should. Can you see that?
Yep, I can see it. I'm sure.
So you see the guy. This is a guy. Yeah. This is a brave guy. I mean, you know, I don't know what the gun laws are in Australia. I assume they're not as liberal as the United States, or
they're not.
As we saw when we were in Israel recently. You know, you go down to a Efrat and these other places, and everybody's carrying an automatic weapon, and everybody's got a gun.
And I have to say, someone from the UK, I am very comforted. I am very comforted by that. I'm very comforted, and frankly, I wish we had that.
Well, I went to Shabbat service in Efrat with my tour group, and we went to the synagogue, and they call it the Happy Synagogue. I mean, they're very.
Sorry, John. This is one of the terrorists who's on the bridge.
On the bridge, that's right.
Yeah,
I think you'll see here. There's a longer video I can't find right now on my feed. I thought I had saved a link to it, but you'll see the police arrive.
Yes,
and I don't know. I'm telling you, it just doesn't seem. It doesn't build a lot of confidence.
No,
that you're safe. No. It's sort of like you see two guys shooting people, shoot them and neutralize them, and then ask questions later.
Yeah.
So anyway, so there you see some police, you see them crouching behind the cars, but I think I don't think you'll see them. Here's a police. You see the police officer by the tree in the background.
Yep.
And then there'll be 4 or 5 or 6 of them before they even try to go after the guys. So I don't know. I don't know. It just didn't seem to be the most professional thing that I've seen.
It reminds me of an incident in a school in Texas whether it was in the last year or a year ago, when the police were outside, but a man, I think a father of one of the children inside the school, just said, "Well, I'm not waiting. I'm going in. That's it." So again, as we say, it's very easy for us. What would we do in the situation? But you're absolutely right. The gun laws in Australia a number of years ago, where they gave their guns up, or a lot of restriction in regard to who could actually have arms.
Yeah. So so here's this is a tweet, and so this is a different incident.
Right.
This is Brown University had a mass shooter yesterday. I think they were on a lockdown. This is Laura Loomer posting based on a Fox report. The person of interest is in custody after deadly Brown University shooting in. I'm trying to remember where Brown University is in Rhode Island.
Is it Rhode Island? Is it Rhode Island?
Rhode Island, yeah.
Yeah.
And it says here, the Brown University mass shooter yelled Allahu Akbar before opening fire on campus, according to sources. And I will say that, and then yesterday, I think it's probably also on Laura's social media. I'll double check here. There was an incident where 3 U.S. soldiers were attacked and killed in Syria.
Yeah.
And President Trump came out and said that it was ISIS attack. It does not appear that it was an ISIS attack. I'll try to find the picture here. There's a picture of the guy who did it was a guy who, suicide bomber, killed 3 Americans yesterday, 2 Americans and their interpreter in Syria. And Trump came out and said that it was ISIS terrorist. I don't believe it was an ISIS terrorist. There are pictures of this guy in pictures recent pictures of him right next to Al-Jilani, who seems to be a big favorite of the Trump administration. I don't understand what's going on. Okay. Mm-hmm. So how many of these incidents do we need that to understand we have a problem? I see guys doing, not a lot of guys, but I've seen guys doing prophecy updates. Oh, this Islam thing is just made up. It's just made up. Please stop that. If you cannot see what is going on, please stop. Stop putting this nonsense on your channels. We have a massive problem. And this is not really, I don't know what the answer is, but so look, here's a good example. What happened in Australia today. Be situationally aware and try to figure out what you would do if you were in such a situation. Is that a valid thing to think, Mark?
Yep.
So anyway,
going back to what you were just saying with this situation in Syria, which we're still waiting to get more details in that area. I believe, an area held by the Kurds. If we then, John, go back to our recent trip to Israel a few weeks ago, and there we are on the border with Syria, and listening to a mother who, sadly, when Hezbollah chucked a rocket into a football pitch, they were playing soccer, as we would call over here, and these 12 children are killed. The mother's talking about that, which is just, I think there wasn't a dry eye in the house, frankly, when we're listening to this amazing woman and her husband.
So I'm gonna put up a tweet from Laura Loomer.
Right.
It uses language that I would not use. I don't have time to edit it out. I think this is an important enough issue. So you can, the fact that she might use language that we don't necessarily use is irrelevant at this point. But here it is. It's this is Christian Amanpour a week ago.
Yep.
In Doha a week ago today or yesterday, interviewing Al-Jilani, Al-Shara.
Yep.
Or there's somebody out there who comments on this. They call him Al-Sharia instead of Al-Shara. I can't remember who that is. I think I know, and I'll play a clip of her in just a moment. Why were you in Qatar over Thanksgiving when you just hosted ISIS terrorist Julani, the president of Syria, at the Doha Forum, where he said the United States and Israel are the real terrorists? 1 week later, 3 U.S. service members were killed by ISIS in Syria. And I think she would back off of that now. I believe he was regular Syrian military. Any comments, Mark?
Well, I think we should give a shout out to Lara Loomer. She's been doing some great work in especially with the Doha Forum as well. Comments could be. I'm not going to make any comment. There's still some dust to settle here until we get all the full story. What is deeply concerning me, why I was talking about where we were in Israel on the Syrian border, is this relationship. And then suddenly the now leader of Syria, Turkey got rid of Assad, as you were quite rightly stated. And he is now saying that as you and I commented on the other day, that Israel is chasing ghosts in Syria, and we think of the Druze community, how various of his group then came against him, came against Christians as well. So this is the reality of the situation, and so we really have to get below these headlines. But Jelani is blaming Israel bombing ghosts, saying it's all America's fault, etc. So we got to remember, John.
The picture that I have here is Al-Jilani, Al-Shara, recently. The guy in the green circle is the guy who killed American servicemen yesterday. Now, look, we can argue whether American servicemen should be in that area of Syria at all. But understand, this was regular Syrian guy that's embedded in the Syria. You don't get that close to the president of Syria unless you're in a trusted inner circle.
Yep.
And this is the guy who killed him.
Yep.
So who killed Americans yesterday. And by the way, our president and Tom Barak and everybody are running around making nice with this guy. It is infuriating to me that this is happening.
Well, I agree. And also when we discuss the Qatar Forum, we just have to say, and that's why it's a big shout out also to Lara Loomer and what she's been saying, is the fact that, Donald Trump Jr. was there. We also are fully aware of Tucker Carlson that was there. It's then reported that he visited Gazan refugees that I believe were in Qatar. This whole thing about him buying a house out there. But also, just quickly, John, as you brought to everyone's attention over that Donald Trump Jr. and this other individual sit on, whose name has just gone from me, sit on 1789 and financing of Tucker. We need to get underneath all the hood of all this and fully understand it, because sadly people don't. They really don't.
So, yeah, and I know you have to leave in an hour or so, but we could go on and on and on about this. I'm going to try to tee up a few videos to play, but one of the things, maybe I can keep talking, Mark. I want to set a couple things up here.
No worries. Just a big shout out to everyone to say thank you for all the work that John does, and I'm seeing some of your very kind comments, and it is appreciated because he puts in unbelievable amount of effort into this to draw the information from so many different quarters. But one of our biggest concerns has been the Doha Forum, and has been respectfully the Trump administration's relationship with certain individuals. And the other deep concern at the moment, and John has raised this a number of times when he had a conversation a number of years ago with Chuck Missler, and Chuck Missler saying, watch Turkey. So that remind ourselves that the Assad regime fell because of the Turkey's involvement with Gilani and supporting the forces against Assad, and also the fact that Turkey is saying, well, we're more than prepared to go into Gaza and be part of this board of peace group to go in. And understandably, and Turkey is also a member of NATO, which is another subject in itself. And also the leader of Turkey, as John has pointed out so many times, he's gently stepping up to going, now I want to be Sultan. I want to have the caliphate come about again, and I want to be the Sultan. But to also remember that they are offering their troops to go into Gaza. And understandably, the Israeli government authorities have said no. And the concern is, well, who is actually going to send forces in here? Because Hamas needs to be disarmed, because they don't seem to be disarming themselves. Yeah, this is important, John. Go on.
Yeah, so let me sort of set this up for everybody. So, by the way, before I do that, hang on a second here, because I need to let's see here. I need to show this because this is share screen. Do I have the right one up? No, I don't. I have the, hang on a second here. Stop screen. This is why I have Mark on, because he can fill in some of the.
I can blather. I can blather away. No, that's very
problem that I have. There we go.
That's very kind of you.
I think this people is
John.
So this is a video, by the way.
Yep.
Okay, you see the video here, Mark? Mark, you sent this to me.
Yep.
This is from Visegrad 24, a good channel to follow on X.
Yep.
And so look here. That's fireworks going off in a Muslim community in Sydney to celebrate the attack against Jews on Hanukkah on Bondi Beach in Sydney.
John,
when are we going to wake up?
Well, yeah. Let's just put certain things in context, because this is what Visegrad have put up, and it's not New Year. There are no other celebrations. If you were maybe celebrate, I don't know if on the first day of Hanukkah, you would fire off fireworks. I don't know.
You light one candle on the first day of Hanukkah. You don't set off fireworks.
You don't set off fireworks. So thank you for clarifying that and being fed that line. So thank you. It's not, I don't know if any Brits are over there celebrating belatedly November the 5th and Guy Fawkes and all this. So the conclusion could be a very fair one, couldn't it, John?
Yeah, this is a big problem. So I want to go back to my, again, apologize for the things here. I have a few videos I want to play. So I don't usually do this live stream, but what we're seeing happening is very, very important in the world. And so this is Fidan. He is speaking this week. I'm not sure. He is the Hakan Fidan. He is the foreign minister of Turkey. And in, I'm trying to remember the town that they had it in. They had it in one of the capitals. I think might have been in Turkmenistan. You remember that? They had a big peace conference, and they had a whole bunch of people there. They had Putin, they had Erdogan from Turkey, they had guys from Azerbaijan, they had the president of Iran was there, and they were all talking, we're going to make peace, we're all about peace and that type of thing. And it was very interesting. What happened at the meeting was that Putin and Erdogan had a very long discussion. Putin was supposed to then have a discussion with the president of Pakistan, who was also there, and the Pakistani guy waited for 40 minutes past his appointment with Putin, and he finally burst into the room. Putin eventually left, did talk to the Pakistani guy, but as he was walking down the hall, Fidan, the foreign minister of Turkey, was bending his ear about something. And I've just seen a report. I've not been able to verify this, so I can't say for sure, but it appears that about 4 ships in the Black Sea were, including 3 Turkish ships, were sunk by Russia yesterday in connection with this Russia-Ukraine war. And there's a lot of things going on there. I mean, Mark, I don't know if you've seen this morning, that Trump has made he's trying to make peace. He's all about peace. And I'm just not sure that, I just don't like the way he's going about it. And one of the things he did, I believe, didn't he make some kind of guarantee to Qatar that if Qatar was attacked, we would defend Qatar in recent agreements?
Yes, he did. And also bear in mind that Israel tried to take out the Hamas leaders there when they got together in a meeting. Can I just quickly come back, because there's a tie up here. With that, I think because I made a comment in our Doha Forum focus, which I then put a link to say I was wrong, where I said that it was at the Doha Forum that they invited some Hamas leader to say, no, we're not going to surrender our arms. And it was actually a conference in Turkey. And I just wonder if it was at that particular conference. I'm not sure, but it was at a conference in Turkey. But this is the other thing, is where Hamas are saying, no, we're not going to surrender. But suddenly America is saying, no, we will secure Qatar's their security. And to remember, John, as you do, is that America has a base in Qatar, but I don't know how big. I don't know how big that base is. I don't know what assets they have in Qatar. So,
well, it's our largest base in the Middle East.
Right.
And so there's some. So you remember the U.S. Back in September. Not U.S., Israel attacked a meeting of the Hamas mediators, killed a bunch of them, did not get the guys that he wanted, but he, and Israel did that attack, by the way, it appears, with a special different kind of missile attack. It was air-launched ballistic missiles. I don't know that this has ever been done before. but and the U.S. did. If they got notice of it, it was just before the missiles hit. And my understanding is that with regard to yesterday in Gaza, Israel took out the number 2 guy who's still alive, of Hamas. His funeral was just this morning.
Yep.
Israel was having some problems, and they took him out. And they did not notify the United States, it said, until 20 minutes after that occurred. And the United States is upset about that. And so we see here in America, we have all these people on the woke mega right. They keep saying, oh, well, Israel tells us everything to do. Israel should just protect itself. So when then Israel protects itself, then America gets upset about it. And, we're all being put in. So anyway, so this is the meeting yesterday in, I think, Turkmenistan. I'll have to double check. This is Putin meeting with the president of Iran. So all these guys were coming together, but after the meeting, there was this apparent attack in the Black Sea, and I'm wondering, there's something bigger going on in this whole relationship with Russia and these Middle Eastern countries right now. And I have something I'm going to speculate on. But anyway, Mark, what do you think?
Well, I think we also got to bear in mind the relationship that Russia has with China, who's buying its energy. India has been buying its energy, much to President Trump's annoyance. We've got to remember all of that. Chinese relationship with Iran as well, and all of these discussions that are going on, as you say, behind the scenes. This is very, very important. Also, John, I think we should also remember at this time is that Hamas are rearming themselves in Gaza as we speak, and constantly there are armaments trying to be smuggled over the Egyptian border by drones and elsewhere. We've got to remember.
My app went off this morning about air attacks from the Gaza envelope.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can pull that up. So let me stop this. This is. I'm afraid I'm going to get off, but here was an attack from the. This was just this morning, just a little while ago, from Gaza. I thought there was this is my Zofar app, means like shofar, and there you can see this is Gaza. I'm trying to remember. So, Mark, you'll remember this. So this is the attack was on Far Aza. These were the people that had to evacuate. These are the people that got the alerts. But you see up here at the north where the red dots are, that's Far Aza. I went there with my tour group in October. By the way, people, if you go to Israel, you've got to go to Gaza. You need to understand what happened on October 7th. And then, Mark, we were here at Nir Oz down in the south.
Yeah.
Walking around that kibbutz. And then I believe that the Nova site is somewhere between Nir Oz and Far Aza. So Nir Oz, about half the people were killed or taken hostage. You can see it's very close to the Gaza border fence. And then, and so is near Far Aza. And I've been at Niram, which is even a little bit closer. They had a little bit better security. So I think they only had a couple people killed. But so here, I mean, here's an attack from Gaza today. I had like 4 warnings this morning from Zofar.
Well, John, there's only one army that can go in there and deal with this, but at the moment they're not allowed to do so in one sense politically, but I believe they're going to have to deal with that, and that is the idea. Plus, America has just said to Israel, "You are going to have to, we'd like you to pay for clearing up the amount of concrete that you've smashed up." So that could be 7 to 10 years. I don't know what about the cost of that. There are huge rains and flooding going on at the moment across that region, but
it's also like they consider it a blessing because they've been in a drought, so they got a lot of rain, so that was good. But they did have a lot of flooding and everything in Israel. So here's a picture of the people who got here, and you need to understand. I hear people, they want to say, well, Putin's different. No, he's not different. And he may be worse, but you see Putin here in the middle, next to the president of Turkmenistan, next to Erdogan. And this is the guy from Uzbekistan, I believe. And then to Putin's left is the president of Iran. So all these guys were there. It's what you would call sort of a target-rich environment in some respects. But listen to the title of this: International Forum dedicated the International Year of Peace and Trust, International Day of Neutrality, and the 30th anniversary of the permanent neutrality of Turkmenistan. And also on the Russian president's site, you can't really see it down here in the lower right, meeting of the International Forum of Peace and Trust, unity of goals for what? A sustainable full future. So please do not tell me anymore that Putin and these guys are not on board with these UN agenda items, the sustainable development goals and that sort of thing. They may act like they're not on board with them, but they will use them to further their own agenda. Any comments, Mark?
Yeah, my comment is the challenge of how every single day, John, about being deceived. As Jesus said, do not be deceived. It's a constant challenge, I think, virtually every hour of every day when we're watching the news and what's going on. Plus, they use those goals for their own good. But John, not wanting to jump ahead,
the criticisms of President Trump is that.
Yep. I was going to say
anyway,
the key.
Go ahead. I'm going to play.
Don't worry. It all leads into one direction, and there will be the man of perdition appearing at we're not being date setters, but this is where it's leading, in a one world government and a one world government system. It's not comfortable to say, but I think the Bible makes that very clear. Sorry, mate. Go.
Okay, so I'm going to play a clip now from. I have 3 clips I think we want to play, and so this is going to take about 10 minutes or so, but we'll play each clip and we'll comment in between each clip. So this is I-24 Middle East Now program, I-24 News from Israel, and it's a live stream. And so they have a guy named Jonathan Regev, who's a security expert, and another guy I cannot remember, and then also Ruth Wasserman Land, who is a former member of Knesset. And I don't know her party orientation. She's with the Mizgov Institute. I've seen her interviewed on the IDSF briefings. And they were talking about mainly the situation in Syria, because what we had in Syria this week, in fact, I have something here. Hang on a second here. Something that I want you to see. So here is the okay. This is so this week was the 1-year celebration of the fall of the Assad regime, December 8th, a year ago. So, I mean, it seems like it was like 5 years ago now, right? Because of everything that was doing. It's amazing. But here is a billboard, a sign. And by the way, If you look at the full picture of this, there's actually a video of it. If you look at the full video of this, maybe I'll play it. I have it teed up someplace. This was erected in a Syrian village. I don't know that this was the Syrian government, but it's this billboard that's erected. And they had to get a crane out there and drag this thing. You can see the size of it. It's a big sign, big billboard, very heavy iron. And look at the pictures. In the middle is al-Jilani. To al-Jilani's right, to the left of him in the picture, is Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia.
Yep.
And all the way to the left in that picture is Al Thani, who is the Emir of Qatar. To the right in the picture of al-Jilani, al-Shara or al-Sharia, is Erdogan of Turkey. And then to the right all the way on the right is Saddam Hussein. He's been gone for what, 20 years? Wasn't it 20 years ago that he was executed? But he's on a billboard in Syria. What's the common thread here? They're all Islamic extremists. They're all jihadis. And they hate a couple groups a lot, Jews and Kurds. And so I don't know. I'll have to I should have translated that sign. If you give me, Mark, why don't you comment while I translate that sign in?
I think, John, the comment that I will make again about deception, but again is how much has been revealed afterwards. And how much homework we have to do, and that the alliances going on, are they real? Are they not? And how we are to some extent all being played. And I am deeply concerned, like you, over the Trump administration's relationship with Saudi, with the leader of Syria, and also recently, a few weeks ago, of course, Saudi leader in the White House, along with Syria, and then along with Erdogan of Turkey. John, you pointed out a video recently where Erdogan's son was seen on the stage, wasn't he, as well? Was he speaking very good English? And in fact, my X feed, and I don't know how things that appear in your X feed are curated, because I get a sewer of Jew hatred, and I don't know if they're trying to they do it because it ticks me off, or they're trying to change my mind or anything. I don't really know. And by the way, thanks for the moderators that are helping out here in the chat and everything. I know I didn't give them advance notice of this. We just kind of decided to do this a little bit earlier than this would be I'd be about 15 minutes into my short, truncated, hour and a half long update right now. But I'm very concerned about the way all of this is going. So there's something going on in Syria. And so I'm going to play these clips from I-24 News, because I hate that they're long, but I want to give people a chance to express their mind. So I'm not sure who's in the first clip exactly, but it's from I-24 News. This was, it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. It was talking about the 1 year celebration of the fall of the Assad regime. So here we go with the first one. And if this sound, I hope this sound comes through. Let me know if it doesn't. You can post a comment in the chat. Here we go.
Criticisms of President Trump is that he agrees with the last person he spoke to. If he's talking a lot to Tom Barrack, that could be problematic for Israel, couldn't it? Given his fondness for President Erdogan and his absolute insistence that Syria cannot be decentralized.
First of all, I think that Tom Barrack has very problematic declarations. as per his personal sentiments, I have no idea, but his declarations are extraordinarily concerning, and not for the first time. I've often wondered, seeing the embrace that President Trump has given al-Sharia. President Trump is no naive personality. He has been through a lot, he's seen a lot, and it almost seems peculiar to think that he would trust a personality who had a significant sum on his head for killing, murdering, massacring Americans until very, very recently. I cannot possibly imagine that even if he talks to Tom Barrack or to anybody else, he really thinks that Sharia is an innocent lamb. I think that he has something up his sleeve, or that the interests in terms not necessarily of a peace deal, but of something concocted regionally would make him do what he's doing. I don't know what it is. But to think that he actually believes that this person will really look out for minorities, equality.
Do you think President Trump cares about minorities in Syria? He certainly pulled the rug out from under the Kurds, didn't he, a couple of times?
I don't think he cares about minorities, but I think he knows the checks and balances within the American system. And I think that the committees and the oversight and the procedures that are in place in the American system would need to make him aware of what potentially he can do and cannot do. I just give him more credit. I think he has something up his sleeve.
All right.
Okay, Mark, what do you think?
Ruth's voice is very important, actually. I commend her for when she took Piers Morgan apart a few weeks ago. What do I think? In many ways, I don't know, but I share her concern with the relationships that he is trying to build with, as it points to Jelani. And I don't, can he be that naive? He can't be that naive, because in the first Trump administration, didn't he call Qatar a terrorist, financing country? So who is influencing him? Or when people say he's playing 5-6D chess, we could go down that line. I don't know. I really don't, but I'm alarmed, like other people, and including comments in the chat, that who is he aligning with? 1 minute, just finally, he's got Jelani in the White House, and then next minute that individual is at the Doha Forum blaming America and Israel for everything. So it is alarming to me. Soldiers in, right.
Yeah, so here this is Ruth Wasserman Land posted this on our X account the other day. By the way, she's very, very articulate.
Yes.
I hope to interview her soon. But so this is on December 9th. So on December 8th in Syria, soldiers in Jelani's, or al-Sharia, as she would call him, peaceful army, crying out the 1400-year anti-Semitic war cry, reminding Jews, not Israelis, that they will massacre them as the prophet did to the Jews of Khaybar while he made a peace agreement with them. So here they are in Syria, troops crying out, kill the Jews, from al-Jelani. I really don't understand what's going on. Somebody will say, well, he's playing 5D chess and he's exposing them. I don't care. 3 Americans were killed yesterday. 12 people killed in Sydney, Australia, at a very popular public beach today. A shooting at Brown University, which bears all the hallmarks right now, that it was related to a certain peaceful religion. I don't understand what's going on. The suicide bomber came from the inner circle of al-Jelani. This is just so troubling. It's very troubling. So anyway, so I'm going to go to the next video, and Ruth will speak in this. I think Jonathan Regev will speak a little bit in this video. But did the sound come through okay on the last one?
The sound was great. Thank you.
Okay, I don't usually do that. So this is from I-24 News, Middle East Now the other day, talking about the Syria, the fall of the 1 year anniversary of the fall of the Assad regime. Here we go.
Criticisms of President Trump is that he agrees with the last person he spoke to.
Sorry, I got the wrong one.
Don't worry.
So let me, this is where I would blame my staff. So clip 3, here we go. I think this is very important. Clip 4 will be the third one I'll play, but clip 4 of my, here we go.
And the Russians and the Iranians and Hezbollah are all out of Syria, or vastly weakened. Turkey's President Erdogan, though, is in. He's also trying to get into Gaza. Is this Israel's main security concern at the moment?
I think so. And we see Israel standing loud and clear against it as much as it can, trying to persuade again. It is President Donald Trump trying to run all of the arenas together. Israel trying to prevent Erdogan from gaining power both in Gaza and in Syria. And yes, this is a major threat because Turkey is trying to become the main player here. With an extremely anti-Israeli policy. I don't think that policy will go away once Erdogan goes away. It seems to be well entrenched in Turkish politics wherever you go. So yes, it is a very big threat, a main concern, and one of the reasons that I said just a few minutes ago that Israel is clearly not interested in withdrawing from the areas it took over inside Syria for now is the threat. That Syria will become a sort of a Turkish powerhouse in the region, and that is something that is clearly concerning for Israel. Absolutely,
Ruth. Let's not forget that Israel had a hand, really inadvertently, in helping overthrow Assad by severely weakening Hezbollah, who were his chief allies. But
okay, I guess that's the okay. So anyway, any comments on that? Those comments by Jonathan Regev, Mark.
Well, quite rightly, Israel has got to be concerned. You and I stood on the border of Israel and Syria a few weeks ago, and we remember the 73 war as well. Security needs to be their number one concern. It's understandable, and looking at the dynamics of change and what has gone on before. So yeah. That is all on the they do not want the Turkish military in any way involved in Gaza. Unless I have that wrong, I don't think they do at all. That cannot happen. They are pushing for far more of an influence. And as I say again, John, they are a member of NATO.
Right. So here's another tweet. This is from I-24 News, and it's talking about Ruth Wasserman Land and what she says. Erdogan is carrying out the first stepping stone toward a future Ottoman Empire. He is becoming the next Iran, according to Ruth Wasserman Land. And here's what I will do. I will play the next clip of hers. This is one of the most astute things that I've heard recently, and it encapsulates a lot of what I've been talking about for years. Watch Turkey. So here we go. Ruth Wasserman Land.
Now must Israel work to keep the Turks from the door?
So one issue that I'd like to comment on, I completely respect and agree with every word you said, but I would even go further and say that it's not that Israel is afraid that Turkey will take over or use Syria as a stepping stone towards Israel. I think that there is no longer a Syria. I think that it's a facade. I think that it's Turkey that we are facing. It's interesting that Asharia keeps saying that Israel is, in fact, in the southern part of Syrian soil, but it says no word about Turkey being in the northern part of Syrian soil, and not for a short while, but rather for a very long while. And this is something that is a huge issue. One, Turkey is a huge country, very geostrategically placed in terms of its geographic placing. Secondly, it's a NATO member. In terms of military might, it's very capable. And obviously supporting the Muslim Brotherhood ideology, having grown up on the, let's say, ideology of the founders of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, Erdogan is carrying out the absolute first stepping stones and the foundation of a future Ottoman Empire. He says it in his speeches, he speaks it in his actions. He is placing himself in Libya, in Sudan, in many places in Africa. He is the next Iran. And when Iran and the Shiite axis lowers or weakens, always the Sunni axis strengthens and vice versa. And this is something that it will eat from within the West if it doesn't wake up soon enough.
So, Mark, what do you think?
When are we interviewing her? I think Ruth Wasserman Land is an extremely intelligent woman, and what she just said was, wow. I think she's just made us severely think, and also backed up some of the comments that were said. The comment about NATO. This is going to be rather interesting in how NATO deal with Erdogan and what he wants to do. We need to be an absolute privilege to interview Ruth. We need to hear more of what she's got to say. I think her analysis, wow, is bang on the money. You've been saying this, my friend. It's not about.
I've been talking to you about her all week. I mean, I just a very articulate spokesperson for Israel, and I don't. By the way, I don't even know her politics. Okay. So, so here we go. So this is a guy named Kevork Almassian.
Yeah.
Almassian. He's a Syrian, okay? And he's, I believe, and I apologize if I'm misrepresenting you, sir. I believe that he was very pro-Assad. And he's Syrian. And he's been sounding on. By the way, the other person we need to interview, and I'm going to try to get that set up soon too, is Rawin Osman,
yes,
the Syrian Lebanese lady that we met, that we talked a bit in line for lunch at the Ministry for Foreign Affairs in Israel about a month ago now. And she's very articulate on this as well. But understand, he's talking about the fall of Assad. I want you to relate this to what Ruth Wasserman Land said. She said, Syria is a facade. Turkey is in charge, but understand what's going on. So Mr. Almassian says this comes after 20 plus years of war, sanctions, and regime change sold under the slogan of exporting democracy. And now the message is basically forget election, forget people's will. What you need is a well-managed monarchy. And this is a very long post. But he goes down here and he has this picture of al-Jilani. Okay. This is a year ago, a couple days ago. Al-Jilani walked into the big mosque in Damascus. And this is a significant mosque for Turkey as well. And I'll show you that in just a moment. It's hard to not see it. So Jolani walks into the Umayyad Mosque in Damascus in military fatigues. I played the video of it. Climbs the pulpit and addresses Syrians nationwide. The key line in his speech is, "O Syrians, obey me as long as I obey Allah in you." That ought to bring back a memory of another ISIS jihadi named Baghdadi who went into the pulpit in the mosque in Mosul and said the exact same thing.
Yep.
Same words. What do you think, Mark?
Well, I think you're bang on the money, John. But I come back to this, and also is interesting with other comments in the chat as well. We come back to this. What is the Trump administration up to? And also, just quickly going back to Ruth's comments on, and there are other comments on the American ambassador to Turkey. Is it Barak's comments
Thomas
as well?
Barak, yes.
Barak. And also, this is really, really important, because it goes back to that the big picture that put up with Saddam Hussein at one end, and the comments about monarchy. Didn't Barak turn around and say that what works in the Middle East is monarchies? There was a criticism of the democracy that Israel has, and that was at the
By the way, the video that's playing is from this Syrian person's X account. The top one is Baghdadi saying what he said. Okay. Obey me as I obey God in you.
Yep.
Okay. And so then you're going to see the shift here to al-Shara.
Yep.
Climbing the pulpit a year ago and saying the exact same thing in the Umayyad Mosque in Damascus.
John, isn't this about that things are moving again so fast that they then feel powerful enough to make, through al-Shara Jalani, to then make the statements that they are then now making, and bearing in mind what Erdogan has been doing within Turkey and what they have just done within Syria, and now feeling, as Ruth said better than I can, about the caliphate and Erdogan's political ambitions. This is what is all going on.
And if you remember, so we were talking to Robin Osman at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She was going to be on a panel, and we were at lunch. So I think it's one of those things where it's sort of a divine appointment. You have these things where you meet people.
Absolutely.
And I've really respected her for a long time. And then all of a sudden, there she is. And she's standing next to me in lunch line. So I talked to her about Erdogan and the rally that Erdogan's son had led in Damascus on January 1st. So we're literally 3 weeks after Syria falls. Erdogan's son is leading a rally at the Galatan Bridge in Istanbul, and here's the poster that was put up. And I've gone, and I by the way, when she went to sit down at her table, I ran and got my laptop, and I came over and I gave her this. I showed her this poster, and she goes, "Oh my goodness, where did you find this? There's so much that I wanted to talk about this. I can't believe you have this." And she's taking pictures of it because she wanted it to use it. And so, reminder, and people who've been listening to me for a while, I did a talk on Turkey and Texas back in September. And I probably need to repeat that for a broader audience, and I will. But this poster is key. And first of all, the big white letters say, "A sun is rising." And you see the sun rising. I think it's a play on words intentionally, because it was the son of Erdogan who led the rally. And it's also the son of Turkey and the Palestinian cause united.
Yeah.
And then there's these three things. So on the left, it says Dua Hagia Sophia. Yesterday, Hagia Sophia. On the left there, you see Hagia Sophia, the largest church ever built in Christianity, turned into a mosque 5 years ago by Erdogan. By the way, you should follow his account. Follow Bilal Erdogan as well. You will learn a lot. Erdogan gives more speeches than just about anybody. I mean, it's amazing. Yesterday, Hagia Sophia, we took over Christianity. Okay? That yesterday. Today, it says Bugün Umayyad. I mean, today, Umayyad. The mosque in Damascus that was the representative, the most important mosque, in the famous Persian-based Umayyad dynasty. We got the Shiites. And tomorrow on the right, again, is this imagery that you see everywhere. Tomorrow, Al-Aqsa. And by the way,
yes.
the the thing that I have here, I'll show this. I used this the other day. So it just happens to be sitting on my desk. Hang on a second here. Okay, so here is this thing that I have. It's you see this the original at Christchurch. It's called Haram al-Sharif.
Yep.
It was published by the Muslim Waqf in 1924, and I've used. Let me see if I can see this a little bit better here. There we go. Haram al-Sharif, published by the Muslim Waqf in 1924. It's a guide to the temple. And back in there, and it's titled Al-Haram al-Sharif. So the entire Temple Mount compound was referred to as Al-Haram al-Sharif. But what changed? Now they refer to the whole thing as Al-Aqsa. And everywhere you look, there's this imagery of Al-Aqsa Mosque everywhere. In fact, there is this this poster, and you also need to watch the posters that these people will put up. So here's a screen shot of a poster that was in Damascus about 2 years ago. This is a poster, and you see here it's General Soleimani handing out guns to Hamas. And what's in the center of the photograph? You always need to look at the imagery that they use all the time.
Absolutely.
Here is a little bit closer shot of it. It's the Dome of the Rock. It's Al-Aqsa Mosque. And the translation of that is, you have filled the hands of the holy city. That's a Shia Muslim poster. Your legacy has made your opponent powerless. And it says, this man filled the hands of the Palestinians. That's the translation of the poster.
Wow.
And everywhere you look, all this stuff, the Dome of the Rock is central to all they're doing. It's central to the Shias in Persia. It's central to the Sunnis in Turkey, Syria, and Qatar.
Because wasn't that the reference for the 7th of October attack by Sinwar?
It was. It's called Al-Aqsa Flood.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, here's another tweet that I found. Yes, this stuff really irritates me. This is a tweet about the Gaza plan. Big article in the New York Times this morning about the Gaza plan. Trump intends to station 20,000 Indonesian troops in Gaza. Since 2015, there have been 172 UN votes on Israel. Indonesia has voted against Israel 172 times. He is implementing a besiege Israel plan. I can't, and this is from Al Jamainer. This is good Jewish oriented, Israel oriented publication. And this is going to be part of the stabilization force. They want to put Qatar and Turkey in charge of this. Turkey says we're willing to send troops. I don't know, Mark. What do you think?
Well, again, without sounding repetitive, as Ruth laid out, security of Israel, and look at again who is surrounding her. We're also concerned by Iran, the rearming Hezbollah. there is only one, as I said earlier, only one army that can deal with disarming Hamas, and that is the IDF. And personally, they need to get on with it. But it's not going to go down well, is it? May not go down well with the American administration, unless, as Ruth said, he's got another plan up his sleeve. I don't know. But Turkey don't want that either. And Indonesia, what an incredible point and tweet you just raised. 172 times Indonesia. With their ideology, why should I be sadly surprised? John.
Well, here we go. I mean, so here's yet another one. So the other thing that's happening too is that I'm following, and I don't really have time to get into it too much today. This is a flying car machine, $128,000. You can fly it without a pilot license after a 5-day training course. Has backup batteries, a ballistic parachute, and radar that handles auto landing, top speed, 102 kilometers per hour. That's about 65 miles an hour. And this is coming out. And my guess is, Mark, what are the implications for this? Okay. In a world where we have people shooting people on the beach, in the most popular beach in Sydney, Australia.
Well, remember the gliders that came in from Gaza over the border there into Israel, and what they were then flying. I mean, imagine them in a load of this kind of craft. I presume, as someone said, the Jetsons. So is this American invented? Is this in America?
I don't know right at the moment. It just popped up in my feed, so I haven't had a chance to. Obviously, I mean, I don't think this is AI generated video.
Well, the thing is, we're looking at the drones. We're looking at like robots in the shape of dogs. They all exist. And Black Mirror is a television series. It would put certain things in, which to me spoke of technology that we now have, which we've now seen. That raises some very, very serious and alarming issues. I mean, over here, just quickly, John, we had people chasing walkers in Yorkshire, in the Yorkshire Dales, by drone and on all of this kind of thing. We've seen it. We've seen it all around about how it's then watching people and herding people in various directions or pulling them up. Yeah, I on a personal level, I believe that certain technology that people say we don't have, they do have, and it's well in advance. But that's a subject for another day. But yeah, that is frightening. You raised a very good point. If people were in, I don't want to give anyone ideas, but if people who are wanting to do such evil were in those kind of contraptions on a beach in Australia or anywhere, just think of the evil that they could then do. It's not even worth thinking about.
So here's another video. This is a Turkish hypersonic missile.
Right.
Okay. So the guy who wants to go after the Dome of the Rock, this is a Turkish video that was just released about a Turkish hypersonic missile. And by the way, the stuff I'm getting on new weapons from Israel, Iron Beam, other things from Israel, that are very sophisticated. Turkey's doing the same thing. Turkey has drone fighter aircraft that are taking down different things. So they're doing live fire tests. They're doing live fire tests with ballistics. They're developing their defense. They've just released like a incredible long distance optical thing where they can see things, 20 kilometers away or what. It's some phenomenal distance. They can see like very minute detail with these optics that they have. And so this is the Erdogan guy, and this is who Ruth Wasserman Land says there's not a Syria anymore. There's a Turkey.
I think she's right. I think she's right, John. I think that's an incredible. I think that is the statement that really leads us into 2026. It really does. I think it's an incredible observation and statement. I mean, again, just quickly, these people are living out there. They're on the ground. They will get assessments from connections that they have that we don't immediately see. That's why we're watching these people and listening to well-informed people like her. Yeah, I think what she said is profound. So that's the comment you were going to take into 2026 again, which is all eyes on Turkey yet again. It's shaping up.
By the way, this is the range of that missile. Turkey in the middle. It will reach all the way to Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Yemen, France, Belgium. It looks like you're okay for now. It has about a 500-mile range.
I did notice that.
But
I think,
sleep well, my friend.
I think we've got other huge, grave concerns of missiles from other people, and in some ways understandable with the way that our present government is behaving. Yeah. No.
Well, man, I know you have a podcast coming up shortly, so you're going to have to go, and we've probably been at this for a lot longer than I planned.
Well,
so I want to cover one more thing, because I sent you an article this morning that a good friend had sent me. Here it is. Now, I haven't had time to review this article in detail, but it comes from a generally credible newspaper. All of them have different things. And I want to understand that there's much, much more going on here. So there's a huge article I'll talk about in the future in the Wall Street Journal this week about how China would go about attacking Taiwan. Taiwan, by the way, has developed missile swarms and technology and that type of thing to defend against those. I don't know that a land invasion that they would need to do, sort of like a repeat of the 1944 D-Day invasion of France and into France by the Allies in World War II. I don't know if the technology prohibits such a large land invasion. But I want to share this article. This is from the Eurasia Times, and I'll put a lot of these links into the show notes after we're done here, if you'll give me just a little bit of time. And I hope you, again, I don't usually ask this, but if you see fit to help FB Chapel, fbchapel.com, there's a donate button there. But look at this. This is from Eurasia Times, dated December 13th, so just Friday, or yesterday. Moscow holds the passports. Ankara holds the allegiance inside Turkey's silent invasion of Russia. And this is very interesting. And I have talked about this. I talked about this 25 years ago. Because one of the things we always talk about is Ezekiel 38 and 39. And there's a lot of different opinions as to when that occurs. Some people put it before the 70th week. Some people put it at the beginning. I'm increasingly of the mind that it's towards the end of the 70th week, sort of part of the whole Armageddon thing. And we can argue about that. The nice thing about it now is we can all be completely dogmatic in our opinions because it hasn't happened yet. But we're at this stage, Mark, and I talk about thresholds now, that there's a threshold, it has to be here. And so the events will rise, and they'll cross the threshold. And then we'll be able to say, this is that which was prophesied. And so I don't want to hear people. First of all, we need to be careful about making those pronouncements. We can certainly see that building. For example, we see Ezekiel 36. I'll bring them back in unbelief, and then they will know that I am the Lord. So that's a prophecy that's kind of rolling out in real time in front of us. But the final fulfillment isn't here yet, where we can say this is that, all of that which is prophesied has been fulfilled. But Ezekiel 38, 39 is also a threshold thing. And I've said for a long time, I've questioned whether Russia's involved. I think that's a legitimate question. But if you conclude that, that's fine. We'll see. Russia hasn't done that great with Ukraine, but in my opinion, and they're talking about peace, and it's hurt the economy of Russia. I don't care what other people say. But if Russia's part of Ezekiel 38, 39, what are the hooks in the jaw that draws them in? And I don't know if it's oil and gas, okay? I know it says gold and some other things. But what right now, this article sort of encapsulates what I have said for 25 years. Just read this. When Ersin Tatar, the former president of Northern Cyprus under Turkish occupation, appeared in the family photo of the Turkish states last October and signed the Gabala Declaration, Moscow took notice. What it failed to grasp was the same stage was being used to rehearse legitimacy for an occupied territory is also rehearsing something far larger, a quiet redrawing of identity across Muslim regions. Turkish strategies speak of a Turkic arc from Anatolia to Siberia. In 2022, one narrative listed 10 Russian regions, including Tatarstan and a couple others, as Turkic republics within the Russian Federation, folded into a contiguous Turkestan project. In this frame, Russia is not merely a neighbor, but a state sitting atop a Turkic population Ankara treats as kin and long-term leverage. Ankara does not redraw borders, it reshapes identity. So, Mark, take what Ruth Wasserman Land just said about Syria not existing, Turkey redrawing the borders, and she said, we talk about southern Syria, but not the north, where they're going after the Kurds. And I'm going to suggest to you where they will be going after the Iraqis pretty soon. Erdogan doesn't want an Ottoman Empire. He wants a global caliphate. He's Muslim Brotherhood. He's tight with Qatar because they've got the money. He's got the largest army in NATO. So here, just one more thing. The 2021 Shusha Declaration with Azerbaijan, our friend Nicole knows a lot about that. Entrenched, and we need to interview her too. Entrenched the formula, 2 states, 1 nation, offering a template Turkey now applies implicitly inside Russia. Not another Northern Cyprus, but Azerbaijanis without sovereignty, republics that remain within the federation yet drift culturally towards Ankara. Kazan is Russia's Muslim center. I mean, this article is so important. Anyway, what are we seeing here?
That article is extremely important. And again, coming back to Ruth's comment, we're not seeing Syria, we're seeing a Turkish extension. And the other comment just before we finish, I'll throw in, Russia also has got an issue with the stans, and of course with its bordering of China, and is to keep an eye on what China is doing with its Russian border and infiltrating the stans there. So that is something that we should be looking at as well.
Well, there are a number of Russian analysts that you and I follow that say that maybe China's whole goal in war is deception.
Yeah.
Right? And so they talk about Taiwan all the time, which seems to be contrary to the Chinese war doctrine of deception. Why tell people you're going to do all this stuff? And it gets us all upset, and we spend all these time and resources defending Taiwan when China, which has no oil and gas, may be looking to invade Siberia.
Yep.
Because they don't get along with the Russians. Somebody built a big wall in China because they didn't like the people that lived in the Russian area. And by the way, that wall used to historically have a thing called the Ramparts of Magog. So this is all a very, very big deal. And so I've contended for a long time that, okay, so if Russia's involved, what maybe one of the hooks in the jaws is not only the couple million ethnic Russians that live in Israel now.
Yep.
It's more of speak Russian than Hebrew. And that he's mentioned, that's why he went into Ukraine, was to protect ethnic Russians, but also he has a massive Muslim problem. He's got this agreement with Chechnya, which was a war a while ago, but could that rise up again? And could could Putin, or who's ever leading Russia at the time, say, hey, listen, all you Muslim people, okay, can you back off for a while? I'll help you get the big prize, Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. And that is one of the hooks that draws Russia into this.
I think your assessment is very important, that we look at that, John, with the way events are playing out. Before we end, can I just say that it's been a delight to join you, and also to thank everyone that's in the chat and also the comments, because I have been reading that some of that, and just say thank you, but also to thank John for what he has done for so many years and what he's going to continue to do for so many years. So thank you for that, because we need to hear it, and also to reiterate about supporting you. I know it's not something that you do, but I think it's really, really important, because I know how much, like others, we know how much effort goes into this, and people really appreciate it. So thank you, my friend.
Well, thank you all for listening. And look, this is a incredibly significant time in geopolitical, historical, and prophetic history that we live in. The convergence of things is just unbelievable. So again, this was kind of a weird day. It's bitter cold here. We have an older congregation, so we canceled church today. And I thought, well, I'll do this. And Mark graciously agreed to come, and I know he's got to run. And so, Mark, if you could just close us out with a word of prayer, and then I'll end the live stream and I'll say goodbye to you on the other side. So please lead us.
I'll be delighted. Father, we thank you that we have the technology to be able to communicate around the world, and we just thank you for that. We thank you that you just give us the insights that you're giving. We offer all of this to you, to bring to you in prayer, and to think about, not to argue with one another, but to offer this up, to say these are events, these are things that are moving, that we have to be aware. So I just pray for the recovery of, if they were injured when they totaled their car, for the member of John's congregation there, and for everyone's safety. Just bless John, bless his dear wife Pam, and his congregation. And we just thank you for everyone listening. Let us continue to be alert to all that is going on. And that's what we believe we are called to do. And we're working hard to get it right. So we just commit all of this to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Mark, thank you. I'll say goodbye on the other side. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. And I have a number of updates and things, live streams this week. So watch for those. And then Mark and I will be interviewing Robert Spencer hopefully tomorrow. So pray that goes well as well. So anyway, thank you, Mark. Talk to you in just a second.